what I see now is that my work through Zen, meditation, and Shin Buddhism is kind of rounded up together, meshed together. And that's what I have been posting few in the past week or so. Perhaps the extension of that is to not too much about posting, but more reflection and where I stand and how I'm navigating. So there was a post of that the dynamic process of navigating life just recently related to sort of external picture of my life, which is work, hobby, relationship, health, and finance. So I have the subjective value of 1 to 10 and monitoring over the 22 years now. I haven't checked most recent one, but I have some sense, and without checking with numbers, I can go over. Work and hobby, good. Relationship, good. Physical situation, good. Health, finance, not so good. But as I was reflecting those, I'm not depressed. For whatever reason, I have some accumulated wealth. So even though I may have lost some money, I have enough stock, so to speak. Previously, those indicators, 1 to 10 in different categories, I think that made sense to do it for years, but now it's becoming a little blur. The most important is the spiritual part, which is living truthful and sincere. And I usually have a high rating out of 10, maybe 8.5, 9, even more. And I think that weight is getting bigger because that external to internal, if you call that, internal sense of how I live, liveliness, sense of bliss like I felt out at the little park, wind, green leaves. I felt when I was interested in stock market and playing the money with that. The idea was to donate most of it, 90% of it, to Vipassana. And I was kind of serious that would be my contribution. From that objective world point of view, that may be so, but from the subjective point of view, I start to shift around the importance of it. It's been very low, like relative importance of the finance is usually like 5 or 6 compared to 10 for the living truthful and sincere. So actually 5 to 10. The spiritual part may be higher than, it's the highest is 10, so whatever the case may be. It's just a playful way of looking at my life profile. But maybe related to my age and coming close to die, I don't know when, and the fact that I have enough wealth stored here and there, I haven't been looking into the stock for the last 5-6 months so much. I'm a little concerned, but not too much, because the importance of what I want to focus is not the financial figures, but internal health, being sincere, truthful, and live the way I believe is most meaningful. Like the case of Osono or Saichi, if I think back. Saichi is more recent, the last 7,500 years. But I thought about the way they lived. Osono was 200 years ago. Of course, if you look at the difference of life, what they've done and what I'm doing, it's quite clear. One evening I thought, that the way they lived have been so different, especially without having the internet and web, all the information. And I have so much interest in so many things. Still, a little childish curiosity or scientific and spiritual, among others, that I'm interested. But in their case, it's almost like shut off from the society. Of course, they may have heard all the noise, but not like we are getting from the internet. And 200 years ago, of course, they didn't have the light bulb. So their setting at the house is very simple. And I pictured one evening just feeling like I'm living 200 years ago. Silence. And you connect much closer to all the furnitures, may sound funny, but all the setting in the room and the light coming through the window. And relating to jumping off from this relative value of checking historically and with others, subjectivity has a lot more element related to the root of who we are, which shouldn't change over time. Each person may have different connection to the root. When I say the root, that is like absolute way of the universe. And the will of the universe is prevailing through us, and we are just agent to do that, while we connect to the external world to make a balance, kind of like surfing the wave of the universe. And then there's the relativity that we can adjust, like the case of the finance or the relationship or work. But overall picture of that, if I look at that whole picture, that connection is so important compared to the relativity, which I talk about the waves, with the analogy of the waves of the ocean being the external world, what's in the mind, and what's deep in our mind, rooted at the core, is silent, and the law of universe is prevailing. That's why we exist as miracle. And the appreciation of that, I feel, that subjectivity, the experience, the direct experience of what that is, by Saichi, Osono, and many others in Myokonin, and also the Zen monks, had such a gap that I see from the way I live and from the way they lived, and much closer to the root of where they are. And I'm so much attracted to that, because the noise in the society, the political climate, war, all of that. And even if I think about my investment and the return and what can be done, it's just a ripple of the ocean. And I'm maybe a little altruistic from my background or the personality, but still, if I look at the total picture of where I am and what I do, or how I enjoy my life and connect to the root, I see much attraction to the way of those Myokonin and some of them people. Subjective world, not so much influenced by the relativity of the finance, the economy, politics, and others. Of course, that's important, because we'll be affected depending upon where you are in life and how much you are to navigate and position and see how you can live. But at the older age, like I am at 74, pure sense of being, be the ability of feeling the sense of bliss, like I was out, or here too, I can connect, and just inside the room, and furnitures, the presence, plants, light through the window, the curtain, and my healthy being is so precious and appreciative. You cannot put the dollar figure on that. There may be a relative index you can check by the blood pressure or whatever, which I don't do, but if you're interested, you get caught up in that, which went up and down and do this and do that. But the subjectivity is truth, Kierkegaard. That sense should be so high compared to the external objective issues that you can check relatively. I have few people who are billionaires, even tens of billions that they made from my Stanford days. So I had some influence. What am I doing versus them? But it didn't stay long. I think I depended on my subjective view of the world than being influenced so much from the external world. In fact, when I started my work at Toshiba, I think my pay was probably, $200 or something per month, if I'm not mistaken. So from those days, and even years later, still in Toshiba, I had an opportunity and was promoted here and there. And at one point I thought, I don't want to be in this society or the company or the interrelationship and not knowing what's outside of the company, but more, they call it at the time, lifetime employment. And I thought, even if I become the president, I thought it's not worth it. That's kind of like an arrogant statement, but also truthful from my end, that I couldn't just stay. And it happened that I was in nuclear and did the safety analysis of Fukushima, but I finished after 3 years or so and went to business, and then left Toshiba and started a bunch of other stuff where my heart pulled me into. And I think, reflecting back of the courses, the decisions I made, I listened to my heart. Right now, I'm more important to connect it to the heart. So, this world of Shin and Myokonin may sound perhaps ridiculous for many, but I have found a gem, jewel, so to speak, a diamond, sparkling, that we are not to be living in the relative world and comparing this and that and making decisions. Okay, that's important, but let's be clear that we don't lose touch with the core of who we are and have a sense to appreciate how we live and make a correct decision. To me, that's critical. See what can be done in the next whatever years I've left. But for now, I feel less internet, Facebook. I use it for a tool for my own purpose, but not to be driven too much by them, but more of the sense that I can draw from Osono and Saichi and many others with Daisetsu and more. So, just a reflection. Life, we go through turbulent period, and I may be coming to the last turn, the corner before the final stretch, and I'm already in the final stretch. So let's see how I live and keep it reported here so that it makes sense to me, and it makes sense from the point of view of the universe and the society, if there is such a thing. Thank you.